Once again, we are faced with just oh, okay. Okay. She just sent me a message. Once again, so we are facing just a wall of injustice. And I don't know, friends. I had a couple of talks yesterday. They were actually really good talks. I got on the phone with This Will Hold, and boy, that was a revealing conversation. You've probably seen This Will Hold's articles, and she's just been going through. She's one of the few people that's actually doing, an audit of the 2024 election, and well, you got this real big problem in the United States where the Democrats just refuse to recognize that Republicans are criminals and they steal our elections. Hi, Rose. Hi, Lulu. Mary, Dibbit, David, Kevin, Dweena. That's an interesting name. I hope I said that right. Suzanne, good to see you guys this morning. I've just been sitting thinking about a lot of things. I'll probably go over a lot of this again when Natasha gets on here, but in the afternoon, it was my privilege to talk with Melissa Corrigan again. I've known Melissa since the days on Medium. She's just a fantastic writer, absolutely fantastic. And I knew her work. She's now doing a show with Blue Amp Media. And she had me on yesterday, and it was an opportunity to discuss what I'm doing with these progressive candidates, where I've just been interviewing as many candidates as possible. I've said many times, I'm waiting for the midterms, and I'm doing everything I can to see that stuff happens. What I thought would happen is that I would start interviewing these candidates, because there's 435 congressional seats, 100 Senate seats, although they're not all running right now. Probably about 30 of them are running right now, and there's all these primaries going on, so for every one of those seats there should be a primary, and sometimes there's 2 or 3 candidates running, and so it's just like we don't really have accurate or adequate media coverage of the primaries. And a big reason we don't have adequate media coverage of the primaries is because the Democrats don't want primaries. They don't want them. And that came out. I talked with Emily Berge, and before people start getting on my case, get behind it, be part of it, it's like this is a failed strategy that the Democrats insist on repeating over and over and over again. Primaries are healthy for a democracy, and here's why. Your candidates, if you have 3 or 4 candidates in a district, all 3 or 4 of them are able to go and canvass the district. They're out having town halls, they're organizing things, they're meeting people, they're getting people involved in the process, you get people involved with our democracy. You can tell them, you educate them, say this and this and this election is coming up, show up on this date, watch out for these candidates, this is why. You educate the people. Primaries are how democracy stays healthy. I talked to Emily Berge, who's running for Wisconsin's 3rd district. I'm in the 3rd. And she said that she called up the Washington, D.C. Democrats. They told her not to run. Washington, D.C. Democrats specifically told her they did not want a primary. They liked their candidate, Rebecca Cook, who's already run 3 times or so. We like her, they said. She's a good fundraiser. She takes a lot of APAC money. We don't want a primary. And so, in talking to Emily, she says, well, that kind of made me mad. She says, I think that's anti-democratic. I think the people of that district should determine who represents them and not Washington. So she's out running. And actually, when all this started, I reached out to everybody. There were at that time 3 different women running for that congressional seat. I reached out to all of them. Laura Benjamin, I talked to her first. She's since suspended her campaign. That broke my heart. But she was the first to talk to me. Then I talked to Emily, and Rebecca Cook has not answered any of my emails. She doesn't want to talk to me. Why not? I'm in this district. I got a platform. I got people listening to me. Come and talk to me. Why won't you talk to me? And that's not the kind of candidate I can support. But again, people say, well, why are you, you're apathetic. Why aren't the voters involved in our democracy? Why aren't they getting out there? And then the Democrats do everything they can to squash primaries, which is the engine for getting people active. Primary season is critical. And the more I look at things and just the unserious behavior of the Democrats, it's becoming more and more obvious that this level of corruption is a feature. It's not an aberration. I started doing these candidate interviews. So let me just kind of talk about that for a second. Now, my larger structure is this. Legacy media is unfair when it comes to Democrats. Legacy media misrepresents everything. They have no standard whatsoever for the conduct and behavior of Republicans. People lost their job for quoting Charlie Kirk online after he was killed in that school shooting. And yet the president goes out and celebrates the death of Mueller. Nobody loses their job about that. So that double standard is just there. Democrats turn around and ask people like me and you for money. They spend it on advertisements on oligarch-owned right-wing media. So they fund the right wing with our donations. We can see this happening. And it's not, and then when I'll say things like this, they're like, well, quit attacking the Democrats. What word did they say? And it's just like, this is constructive criticism. It doesn't make any sense for Democrats to ask me for a donation and then go spend that money on an advertisement on Fox News, because that money gets funneled back to the architects of all of our misery. And so I've had this bigger kind of structure in my mind, like this is what could happen. The Democrats could get their heads out of their ass and notice, well, the media doesn't treat us fairly. And they've said, we need a new media. All right, here's one. It exists. I'm part of it. I'm not asking for millions of dollars. I want, if you could support my newsletter for $50 a year, I'm still going to do what I do. I'm not looking to get rich. I just want to support myself while we fight fascism here. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to interview candidates. I'm going to do the work that Democrats need. I'm going to get out there because they always complain. You guys better start getting involved. You better start taking this seriously, they say. You better get out there and vote. If you don't vote for us, you're going to get them. They just lecture us. All right, okay. I'll do the work. I'll start my platform. I'll get people motivated, get people interested. I start doing that work. Democrats go, hey now. We don't really like what you're doing there. Hi, Kat. Kat's there. Good to see Kat. And it's just like, this doesn't make any sense. I'm interviewing the candidates. I'm getting people excited about primaries, getting people registered. Why aren't the Democrats supporting me? Why don't they support me for that? And so then I keep waiting to see this happen, this transformation happen, because, what I figured was I'd start with the candidates willing to talk to me. We'd start doing this. They'd see there's benefit in that. They get visibility. These clips go on to social media. They don't have to do anything. They can sit in their car at any hour that they want, talk to me for as little amount of time as they want. They could talk to me for 10 minutes. We can create them the clips. We share them on our socials. They get all this visibility. They start winning the messaging battle. We start combating all the lies of the right that go uncontested so often. So I figured I'd start with the primary challengers, and then I figured some of the other ones would start to come in. And I also figured some of the other creators on Substack would say, hey, this is actually pretty smart. If we want to take back our country, we're going to have to first counter all the lies that come out of Republicans that constantly go uncontested. We'll show an alternative type of politician. And it's good for Substack, right? All these creators, it's like, this gives you credibility. If you are talking to candidates, these people could potentially be in office, next year. They could be in Congress and in the Senate. And we now have a direct line to them. We're talking to them. We're working with them. Now, a couple of my friends have helped me, Lawrence from the Daily Whatever. He's been on a candidate interview with me. He organized one with, he and Dana organized one with Francesca Hong. Nick Paro's done one with me. Melissa Corrigan, she interviewed Francesca Hong with me too. Nick Paro interviewed Emily Berge with me. I've reached out to people like Marlon Weems. He's been interested. I've reached out. Hi, Nikki. I've reached out to Arturo Dominguez and Shane Urach. There's a lot of these creators. But you'll notice that the ones that are all willing to do this are the guys that are in the kind of the fringe group like me. We've got the check mark, but the transparent check mark. Oh, Ellie Leonard said she would. And that would be fantastic. She's got such a huge platform at this point. Talking with Ellie Leonard, then we can get a lot more credibility and visibility for these For the People candidates. Really powerful stuff. I've reached out to a lot of bigger creators, the ones with the solid orange, more of those with the solid orange check mark. People that are legacy media, they don't get back to me. Now, that doesn't make sense to me because Substack is supposed to be independent media, right? These are people that have come here because they've lost their jobs with legacy media. They're frustrated. They're looking for a change. They're looking for something different. And yet they're beholden to the previous status quo. I say that any one of these creators that has a big platform, if they are not out there promoting alternative candidates, running in primaries, which is part of our process, we have a democratic process for primaries where we can get different viewpoints out there. If these creators aren't out there doing that, they're just not serious. They're protecting a status quo and they don't understand what's going on. Now, the other thing that's going on is yesterday, ICE got deployed to airports. And I'm sure some of you have seen these videos where ICE is, they're abducting women. They're beating on women. And it's been found out that a lot of these people that they've been harassing and beating and kidnapping are U.S. citizens. What happens to them? What are the consequences? Now, there's one aspect of this ICE in airports that actually could work in our favor, and that's that they have their faces uncovered. So if you are in an airport, please do everything you can to take as many pictures of ICE agents as possible. Get pictures of the ICE agents. Because when the day of accounting comes, and it will, we can create a database. We can identify all these people who, we keep seeing again and again video of them committing heinous acts. Now, I want to talk about that a little bit more too, because I was talking about it with my wife last night, and she was just like, her response was what I expect the response a lot of people kind of are conditioned to have, where they say, what's even the point? Everybody always says this is going to happen. Nothing ever comes of it. And you have to put that aside. That's been imposed into you. That's been indoctrinated into you. We need to manifest the reality that we want. And it starts inside your own heart and you're in your own mind. And you have to accept that a day of accountability is coming. And this is just basic good and evil stuff. We do not do evil acts because there is an accounting for evil acts. You have to pay for it. Whether you are held accountable by the laws of humankind or the laws of karma, there's accountability for evil. And it's frustrating to sit here, particularly in these times, and watch this lawless regime murder children and protect child rapists. And it's easy to fall into that mindset of, well, I guess evil just gets away with it. And you just have to remember there is always accountability for evil. The more we say that, because right now it's fragile. The general population is fearful and they think that they're going to get away with this. A lot of people are letting themselves entertain those thoughts. But you have to remind yourself that evil is always held accountable. And the more we say that, it becomes a threat where you tell these guys, I'm taking your picture because you are committing an evil act. And I don't have the power today, but one day I will have the power. And if I'm not here, somebody like me is. And they will hold you accountable. You can't kill us all. You can't get us all. And little by little, this is how we win. because we've seen defections now in this regime. We've seen people walk away from it, and we're seeing that it's weak. The president's getting more desperate. I couldn't quite understand the news today. It sounds like he tacoed, he chickened out again when it came with the war in Iran, like he always does. Because every time he's losing, he just wriggles away. He's just like a pathetic little coward, and that's another sign of weakness. All right. Belinda says citizens who aren't flying should step up as citizen witnesses and go to airports and take a lot of cell phone video photos. That's actually a really good idea. Especially if you look like me. If you're a crusty old white dude like I am, ICE isn't going to bother you. They're just not going to. It's been kind of upsetting to see. You go to these demonstrations and it's all women in their 60s is what I've been seeing mostly at the demonstrations. I'm really proud of them. I'm astonished by their power, but at the same time, it's frustrating how there's not enough men like me at these places. You need to be there, and we have to start getting on the front lines because men are just not allies to women in the United States. They let the women have to handle everything on their own. Terralex says it was market manipulation. Yeah, I heard about that. Somebody said that there was like a $1.5 billion investments. Oh, there's Natasha. Awesome. And good to see you, Natasha.
Hello. Why am I so close? So annoying. Every time I join a live, it does that. I'm so sorry for being late.
That's okay. I like to get up in the morning and just pontificate. You know how I am. I'm just sort of like, oh gosh, it's 3 hours later. So yeah. But I've had this acid thing. I've been caught. I don't know. I guess it's just the stress, like we think we're fine. And then it's like your body's secretly coming apart. I've been coughing. It's like, oh great. I'm coughing up acid. That's probably not good. I should have that checked out, but
yeah,
I'll start spitting it at people, I guess. I'll spit acid in your eye if you try to detain me. How about that? Yeah.
It'll be your new superpower.
I'm Professor Xavier. Yeah. Well, it's good to see you, Natasha. Yeah, I wanted to have you shared a couple videos yesterday. I don't know what you want to talk about. We could talk about that. I'd love to. We can talk about anything you want to talk about.
What do you want to talk about? What's on your mind?
Well, the one thing, and I don't know if you saw that interview I did with Melissa. I was telling everybody, but Melissa Corrigan is wonderful, and she's one of the people who's helped me when I've been interviewing these candidates to help, share those even more. And it's becoming more and more obvious. The Democrats don't want these primaries. I've been interviewing these primary candidates. It's like that is the machine that makes democracy possible. They canvass the states, they get people roused. They're like, oh, these are the dates, and what's frustrating me is there's so many creators on Substack that aren't involved in that. I thought it would happen before now because I've been patiently doing this for like 5 or 6 months. Like, gee, other people on Substack are going to say that's a good idea. I too am going to interview candidates. And it's like, and then we're going to get the legitimacy of Substack. And then maybe at some point, the establishment Democrats will say, gee, this is our way to counter the messaging of the right. There's all these people just doing the work for free. Let's go support them a little bit. And of course, I can't even get like the big creators on Substack to join me in this. So
yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's important. I've only reached out to WFP, and it was like their media contact. So I haven't heard back from them, but I've never interviewed anybody. There's people I want to reach out to and I'm going to, but I'm just not sure. I've never interviewed anybody. And then I don't know, I swear, I'm not going to swear in an interview with a, potential candidate. How do they know that,
Oh, that's actually really useful for you to say those concerns because it's here I am just stewing in my anger. And then I'm like, oh yeah, that's actually a pretty reasonable thing. Because I invited Ben Ulansey on and he was like, prior to it, the first candidate I interviewed, he was like, I was really nervous about that. And I'm like, oh yeah, I did feel nervous about that the first couple times I did it. And it's not really an interview though, is the other thing. I just kind of want to, it's like, tell us about yourself. And then it's like a conversation. Somebody said it's like a coffee shop conversation, which is what we need in new politics.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you keep reaching out though, and so many of them, it gets to a certain point, I send them this short and sweet email. I'm like, here's my follower account. At your convenience, I will interview you. You can do it on your phone. Come on, and that's pretty much nothing more than that. Oh, there's some music. Was
It's
that you?
yeah. Coming through on my MacBook. It's
But and the other thing is though too, it's like 1 out of 10 reply. So that's another thing I guess I should just tell
yeah,
everybody.
like just be aware that not everybody's going to respond. Yeah.
Oh, Chris, are you running for office, Chris? I see it in the comments
Oh,
here. If you're running for office, we'll be in charge of that. Yeah, or maybe he's just. I'm in that context, so we'll see. But yeah, I don't know. I saw that other video you posted though, where people were that interview where the people were just running down Jasmine Crockett. That just had me livid.
Yeah. So many things wrong with that. It's been bothering me since I watched it. Somebody posted it on Threads like a couple weeks ago, and I was like, who are these people? And like they have a big following, I guess, but it's like these are people that call themselves progressives, and how are you a white person and you're dismissing the racism, the blatant racism that Tallarico, and whether malicious or not, it doesn't matter. The fact is he called Colin Allred a mediocre black man, and you don't do that as a white person. You don't do that. So for her to call it out, and then for them to say that she was factionalizing the party, breaking it apart.
Yeah.
That's the same thing that we've been talking about, is these blue MAGA people who are vote blue no matter who. You're fracturing the party. Stop fighting with everybody. Just get along. You guys just need to know. I don't want to get along with racists. And for me, being anti-racist is part of being progressive. I don't see how you could call yourself a progressive person these days and you're not actively anti-racist. And anti-racist is doing the work and not just sitting there when you see something, but calling it out every single time, whether or not you feel uncomfortable about it. And so for people, it's frustrating to see that people with this big of a platform, progressives, are spewing this kind of hate. And this is the type of stuff that I dealt with on the inside. And that's why it infuriates me so much. And, because it's like watching it from the outside and they're still doing it. And it's like, I don't take it personally, but it's like I feel myself in that situation because I dealt with the same thing inside the DNC, and to watch it continue and continue and continue. And I'm just sitting here having to watch it. It's triggering. It's really infuriating. So yeah.
That'd be one of those cases where I would love to get on that show and have it. And I think because it's like it hits closer. It's like closer. Like if we're talking, and just not that I care less, but it's like if we're talking about like general abuse against children, I'm at a certain level of rage. And then if it's abuse against my kids, I'm at another level of rage, So it's like I can be more effective if I'm a little bit more separated from that situation than you are. So I think I could effectively get in there. But I love the fact that you just casually dropped the blue MAGA term, because I've been trying to just spread that. It's just like, yeah, that's what that is. And people, oh yeah. And that's another thing we're not seeing. Even our independent, and this was making me angry. Even our independent media is not really embracing that narrative. That's why this independent media exists, is we have to talk about those problems. I want to talk though, because there was this one lady. I was writing my criticisms prior to the election in Texas. I'm just like, yeah, this is why I don't like Tallarico. This is why I prefer Jasmine Crockett. And somebody writes in there and they're just like, well, Jasmine's messaging is a little too hostile for me. And if she were to tone it down, it's going on like this.
Yeah.
And I wrote back, actually, and I just used her exact template of what she said. I'm like, actually, your messaging is a little too hostile for me. And I would like you to be less divisive. And if you could tone that down, I'd be more interested in listening to you. So I just threw it right back at her. And she was like, listen, darling. She got instantly, it just pivoted to this. And then I was just like, okay. But so many of these, that's so effective. I mean, all these people that like, you're being really divisive, and it's just like, actually, I think you're the one who's being divisive. You're the one who has to maintain me in the party. It's like, you need to work with me. I'm a person who doesn't quite agree with you. We need to work together. You need to work with people you need to model for me all these things that you say I need to do. And that usually crumples them.
Yeah. But that's the thing. Yeah. Is that it, even in this setting, we're seeing how much independent media has grown. And now we're seeing the faction, and the faction really is, we can talk about MAGA is, splitting up all day, and they are, but the Democrats are too. And the problem is that I keep saying over and over is that
Yeah.
they refuse to acknowledge it. They pretend like it's not happening. They stonewall. They act just like MAGA does, you know, when they walk through a room and they're standing up straight and they're ignoring the questions that you're like, that's how they act too. They don't care. And
Yes.
so, you know, when you have these people like spreading that, you know, that message that we're, you know, factionalizing the party, we're splitting the party up, we're dividing
Yeah.
people. You're asking us to have to, you know, get along with racists and things like that. And for me as a Black woman and for
Yeah.
other people, that's not going to fly. I'm not okay with that just because to get along to get along. No, that's the problem. That's why we need a third and fourth and fifth party because we don't have anything representing us right now. And
Yes.
Democrats keep moving to the right and wanting us to move with them.
Yeah.
So you can't call yourself a progressive when you're still doing those same things. You know, like, progressive has to be progressive. Like there has to be like a set of values. Like we stand on anti-racism, we denounce ICE, we denounce corporate, you know, like there has to be a collective thing. And for me, being anti-racist and you know, and that language, tone it down, you know, that's racist. You know, that's a
Yeah.
microaggression.
Electability is a racist phrase.
Electability is a racist phrase. So
Yeah.
you have to take those things into consideration when you listen to these people talk. And when you hear phrases like that, it's actually kind of just like a dog whistle. So
Yeah.
it's the same thing, a dog whistle for the left instead of the right.
Yeah.
But
Well, the blue man. Yeah. And like they have that comply or die attitude. You have to
yeah.
comply with us. Like I'm not allowed to even say these things. And like that interview I did with Emily Berge where she said DC told her not to run. Like they don't want the primary. And that just made her
Mhm.
angry. And it's just at some point though, and I was talking with I wonder how you say his last name, Anthony Christian or Christian. I don't know how you say it, but he was just like the messaging, and we just keep seeing Democrats fail. Kids are literally getting raped in these concentration camps, and they send their strongly worded letters. And at some point, I think we just have to entertain, like, you know, the understanding Democrats are doing this deliberately. I mean, every single time there is a vote, just enough Democrats get involved to pass whatever the Republicans want. There's always like 2 or 3 defectors. They're never a lot of times there's the same, but sometimes there's different ones. And the point I always emphasize that everybody wants to conveniently forget. In 2020, we gave them all the power they needed to stop this. They had the power. They can't blame us anymore.
Yeah.
They can do it, you know? And just this, I think we just need to have this awareness of because we have why should we hope for the Democrats to do anything better, you know, because they've shown again and again and again they're just not going to. And so I think we just need to have those. We have to we have to start cranking up our activism in it a little bit more. That means applying pressure to Democrats as much as it does to Republicans in our communities.
Yeah, I mean, or even more so because they are again against everything that we want to. So that's why I keep saying we need to just bypass them. American Citizen here on Substack has a lot of really good ideas too about things that we can do. And I just feel like, and she mentioned a couple of weeks ago, like, we don't need Congress to do anything. We don't need these people to do anything. And she's right, because they're not doing anything anyway. Just pretend that they don't exist. Start bypassing them to get shit done ourselves, and then fucking call the ones that don't need to be there as we're doing the thing. Like, we need to make them realize that they're disposable. They're insignificant.
They're our servants.
The way that they're treating us, right? Yeah, the way that they're treating us is not okay, and we need to realize that we have the power to get these people out. We have the power to make change. We have the power because we have our money and we can withhold things. And they don't realize, like, we've been too complicit. We've been too comfortable, and now people are fucking angry, and they're gonna see that. And I think that's just what has to happen for the party to burn down. I don't think Black people should be a part of the Democratic Party, to be honest. I mean, that's your own choice, but the way that they treat us, I think it's a slap in the face, and they don't deserve our support at all. Everything, you know, I'm part of the 92%. We carry this fucking party, and for them to keep ignoring our concerns, ignoring the racism, continuing blatant racism, not calling out racism like John Fetterman and shit like that.
Yeah.
Somebody that's in your party, you should be denouncing that. I don't care if you can control what he says. You as a party, Ken Martin, Chuck Schumer, somebody needs to fucking denounce that shit, and they're not saying anything. They're the exact same. They are a controlled opposition party. Not every single one that's in there, but as a whole, that's how they're operating because they are pushing us further into fascism. They are voting in favor of funding ICE and funding this war. Who, you know, I don't know if you saw, but the 18-month-old baby that was fucking in Israel, they put like cigarette burns on an 18-month-old baby and like stabbed a nail through the baby's leg or something, all to get the father who is there watching to confess to something. Right? This is what we are funding. We are funding that shit. It's not okay. Every single AIPAC taker, I don't care if it's AIPAC, I don't care if it's any like pro-Israel, pro-war, pro anything that is genociding people and committing harm to people needs to stop. And if the Democratic Party cannot denounce that, then they are the same, which means we have no representation at all. And we have to change that because they're not listening to us.
That's exactly the type of thing that we need to be saying in our interviews with these progressive people, just like get the word out there. But what you said a bunch of things I want to address. And like, if we've been in every single time in my life, when I've had some sort of a conflict, I've always skipped over like the first 5 people I was supposed to go to. You're supposed to go through this chain of command. I'm like, no, I'm going to go straight to the top. We'll get this handled. Then everybody else along the line is like, well, you should. And it's like, look, it needs to end. We'll talk about your grievance once my abuse is done, you know? And it's like, and it's like you said, there's all these pressure and delay. All that is now unacceptable. And I just like what you said too. We need to, I guess, let's brainstorm some more ways of doing this. How do we bypass them? One of the things I've been saying is, it's like, you know what? Just put it in your head. As you know, and Democrats have a lot of things that are wrong. What the Republicans are doing right now, like arresting kids and being silent and complicit in the rape of children. And I mean, we have to take it. I mean, there's prominent Republicans in your community, and we should be talking to them. We should be applying some pressure to them. We should be putting the videos on our tablets and saying, look at what you guys are supporting. And we know what their businesses are. Like you said, just don't go to their businesses anymore. And, you know, there's public sidewalks. I don't know what the rules are about where we can do these protests. We're doing our protests here in my community. It's always like in the Ovalo in the middle of town. Let's pick something else. Let's go protest at a church. Let's go protest at the radio station, you know, so it gets on the news. I mean, there's a lot of things we can change, and we just kind of deliberately allow ourselves to be bludgeoned into this. Okay, we can be active, but over here in this little corner, I'm in compliance with all the rules of how I can be, you know, of civil disobedience. And it's like, that's not how it works. We got to shake that up, and we can still be law abiding. Right. But yeah, and it's just like the statements that you just made, like, give yourself permission to make those statements about how the United States of America is funding the torture of babies right now with our taxpayer dollars, and it has to stop.
Yeah, it has to stop. And Iran, everything that's happening in Iran, everything that's happening everywhere. We are the cause of it. And you know, I don't want to be lumped into that. Yeah. I'm not for this shit. I mean, the majority of us are not for this shit, but it's like, we feel like we just have to take it because that's what's here. No, we can upend things. We can, you know, fuck shit up in a good way, legally. And
good trouble.
Good trouble.
Yeah. So. Oh, and I talked with This Will Hold. I got on a phone conversation with This Will Hold. I don't know if you've read her writing about election interference, but just and her general viewpoint is, it started with the hanging chads, and the Republicans are like, oh, look, we can steal election, you know, W's first election, and it's like Democrats ain't going to do a damn thing. So that's just our policy moving forward. It's just blatant election theft. And one of the points I've been making, I just asked her, I'm like, what do you want me to ask candidates? And she says, we need to complete overhaul of our election system. And then it's just so bizarre because you start talking about that, and Democrats are like, well, that'll discourage people from voting. And it's like, all the Republicans ever talk about is election fraud. So it's like, you're sitting there with your like fancy degrees, and it's like, because they know, I mean, these are educated, highly educated. They got the best education money can buy. and they're deliberately committed to this strategy of failure. And
Mm-hmm.
at some point, yeah, I guess I was just spitting anger again, because it's just sort of like, we just have to allow ourselves to believe the Democrats, they're completely fine with everything that's going on right here. The establishment Democrats are, because they've had the power to stop this.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I've been saying the same thing, especially after being in it now. I see it for what it really is. And yeah, you're absolutely right. The establishment as a whole is dedicated to either losing or just keeping the status quo while pretending to fight against it. You know what I mean? And that's most of them, not all of them. Like there are several good candidates, but yeah, I think one of the things that I've been saying to people also is that we have to be in charge of our local elections. Like we have to
Yeah.
contact our own Department of Elections and find out on our own what kind of machines they're going to have. Are they going to have enough? Like if we hear that things are things are going on in your town, like, oh, I heard we might only have one, machine at this precinct or something. Like there's voter protection people in organizations that we can alert to let them know that these things are happening so we can try to get ahead of them. But, like I don't know how to spread that word. It's like that's the thing is like we have to put in a lot of work. We now have to do the manual labor.
Yeah.
And that's something that we are not used to doing because we've been so complicit or comfortable and just allowing everybody to do the work for us and just sitting back. And now we've done that for so long that we now have to take things in our own hands. And that's going to be hard to get people up and out of their seats and active. But that's what we're going to have to do because we can't rely on our governors. We can't rely on senators or anybody to preserve our elections and the integrity of them and make sure, whoever works in the election department, who's counting, how does that stuff all work? We need to figure out on our own, like, and become well versed in how our own local elections work so we can kind of keep an eye on things because nobody else is going to.
Yes. And they're
counting on us not doing anything about it at all.
And that's a great example of kind of the theme of our talk, like cranking up our activism. People always ask, what more can you do? And it's like, first of all, just forget about the president. That's irrelevant. It's like, and we need these small victories. And like what you said, well, write an article about that and I'll share it and I'll bring it up to the candidates I talk to. Like, who do we contact? First of all, we find out there's enough election machines, what machines they're using, they're secure. And then we ask for that oversight. So we, can change it if we need to.
I'm gonna go up there or call myself and start asking questions, and just start probing. Well, if you don't know, like, where can I find out this? And I'm gonna start going down the trail and then, whatever information I find out, I'll let people here know. Of course, it's gonna be different, on a case-to-case basis, different states, different, localities and things like that. But at least, any information I know, I'm happy to share it because I want everybody to know the same thing, like what we're able to do.
And that's the thing that as you learn and you start doing it, because what I found in this last year, we got to repeat the things over and over and over and over again. And everybody who's watching this chat has to do this too. Like, be involved on your local level. And if everybody in the country, because that's how grassroots works, like we got to shake off the adulation of wealth, because that's killing us. Wealth is white supremacy. We're not going to have children who aren't raped unless everybody has equal financial power. The only way to beat pedophiles is to destroy wealth. I mean, get that through your head, everybody, because everybody is so indoctrinated with wealth worship. And that's a big part of this. Somebody mentioned interview Senator Booker's progressive challenger. I didn't even know who that is. So yeah, that's somebody I would reach out to. Absolutely. Do you know anything about that?
No, it just made me think of, I listened to somebody today on the radio. It was somebody in Georgia, so it wasn't Booker. But that's something good to look into because I was just watching a Instagram video about Cory Booker and somebody calling him out for his funding of everything that's happening right now, the killing, the war, but every single Democrat or Republican that accepts that needs to be cold.
Yes. What I can do too, Natasha, one of these, I'll set one of these up with an interview with a candidate and with you and me and the candidate. And that just makes it easier where you're like, here's an example video and Walter and I will interview you if you want. And so with the more people we have doing that, then we combine platforms and it's like, potentially go out to this many people. And then, it's like, because you'll be great at it. And but like, I get the nerves too. It's like, okay, this guy's running for office. But the reality is that the public wants something different right now.
Right.
And when I was talking with Francesca Hong, she was like, fuck this and fuck that. I'm just like, oh my God, that's so perfect. Right.
Yeah, they exist. But yeah, we have to take that initiative, and that's for everybody in here. You can just local city council members, it doesn't matter who it is, but like, we don't know about these people, because these are local elections. Like if you have Sirius XM, Joe Sudbay, I don't know if you're familiar with him, if you've heard of him, but he does a show called State of the States, where he for like an hour interviews like different candidates from all of the states, like people that we've never heard of. And that's important. Like, you live in Wisconsin, like if you have candidates or whatever there that we don't know about, people across the nation are willing to fund these people and send money to their campaigns, because we want these people in office. It affects everybody, no matter what state you're in. So for us to know who these progressive candidates are, the people who are just getting on the ground, the people who might just be like you and me, and this is their very first time, but like people like Chris Bennett, you're just sitting here at home and wondering, like, I can't take it, I'm going to run for office. We need to know who those people are. So for everybody listening, if you have, local candidates running for Congress or Senate or governor, whatever it is, like, it's important for us to know who they are, because we want something different. So we are going to, that grassroots right now, we see how well it's working. Working Families Party and all of that, it's working. It's working. Things are gaining traction.
And I've had a lot of my readers have already kind of connected me with candidates. They've gone to talks, like I think it was Chris Armstrong. He's like, somebody at one of his meetings had heard of me, so it's just like, hey, you should talk to this guy. It's like, awesome, yes, please do that. Deidre said it's Chris Fields for Senate, so I'll for sure reach out to Chris Fields. And here's the thing about that too. It's like, because people get in their mindset, they're like, well, what's the point? We don't even know if they're going to win the primary. It's like, I want to talk to this guy. So he gets on a debate stage with Cory Booker, and then he says, hey, let's stop welfare for billionaires. And it's like, because like, don't even talk about taxing billionaires. Start talking about how every time their businesses fail, the taxpayers somehow have to bail out these, these losers. And it's like, let's just let them go bankrupt for a change. Let them mortgage their assets to save their social media platform that was based on just nonsense that they decided they had to build because they're entitled little jerks. And it's just, that makes a big, and I am seeing it already. I was talking with my wife last night, because she listens, like sometimes when she's driving home, she'll throw in one of my podcasts, and well, she was at her school district, and somebody was just randomly talking about like, what's going on in Iran. And my wife is just like, and she started repeating something I'd said, where it's just like, yeah, every time this president, somebody pushes back against him, like the Supreme Court says no on his tariffs, he throws a temper tantrum and then he kills a bunch of children. So she just kind of like spewed this out, and the person was like, oh.
Like it was just second nature. Like,
well, and
it should be.
We give ourselves, and this is what's insane, because you always talk about the mind control aspect of this, and just the degree to which we self-censor.
Exactly.
We just don't even say these things. And and I've actually, because I've always been an outspoken person, but in this last year, and with the benefit of all the wonderful people in these chats and talking to people like you, Natasha, I'm just giving myself permission. And I used to always frame things as a joke, like, haha, blatant contradiction, an example of corruption, haha. And everyone's like, yeah, that's funny, haha. And then we're like, but I meant that though. And now I'm saying it like I mean it. Yeah.
But yeah, it should be normalized. We self-censor way too much, because that's what we've been taught. Don't talk about politics unless whatever. Like now it's affecting our entire lives, and people are still like afraid to talk about it. Like you have to get real. We have to break these chains of all of this, control that they've pushed all over us, and fear, and just making us feel like we don't have enough power just because we're single people. But the more I talk to you and the more we're here on Substack, I'm so motivated every day, because I see so many people who want to do good, and I feel like it's growing. I feel it like in my bones, and I just wish I just want to pull everybody in. I just want to pull everybody in. I just want everybody to hear like this message, like it's, the word of God or something. But like we all want change, whether you're Democrat or Republican. I don't know if you heard the clip of that Republican lady saying she voted for Trump 3 times. And did you hear her? It was funny. She was like, I don't recall what it was. Some of you might have heard it, but she was talking to somebody about how she got duped. She was like, I voted for Trump 3 times. She was like, he's a fucking piece of shit or something. And then she goes, I guess I was stupid. I guess I got duped. Like, I didn't know better.
Deceived.
But like,
that's good.
Deceived. But like, all of us are in that situation, even though it feels like it's just us. You do see people in your day to day when you go out, people who might be on its face MAGA, but deep inside they still might they're hurting financially, economically. Like, we're hurting in some way. Everybody's going through something, and I feel like that vulnerability is like the time for us to be able to pull people in, even though there's a lot of tension and a lot of anger and a lot of hate. But amongst that, there are more of us than them, and we just have to like pull them out, like bring them in by trying to relate about things, about politics, about the cost of living, the cost of gas. Like, we can all relate to those people and not have to say the words Trump in that sentence, but we also know that's what's causing it. And people are starting to admit that, whether or not they want to. So we just all want the same thing.
There's a lot of guidance we can offer. Yeah, you were deceived. You were a person manipulated you, and they abused you, and they took advantage of you. Those are the things that we can say. And I want to say too, just Natasha, like you've always been great in these talks, but I did notice, like, it's been maybe a month ago, boom, you leveled up, and the stuff you started to say, I'm like, great, because and it was just like, it's normal. You slide in, this is a new thing, I'm going to find my way, and it's like, okay, it's on now. And I've seen that in you. And so that's given me a lot of hope. And it was just like, because your message is really strong, and I appreciate that too.
I feel like it's because of you, actually. Literally, when it happened is that one, it was that one time I asked you to just repost something. I don't even remember. It was like a note or something. And then all of a sudden, like, I was getting so many, I'm still from that day, like, getting notifications from that one note. And I'm like, oh my God. Okay.
Which one was that? I don't even remember which one it was.
One of the ones, I don't remember the one I asked you to post, but one of the ones is like, it was just something about elections. Like, the elections were never canceled. So any attempt for them to do so is like just an excuse, because there's no need, even with the war going on right now, like, it doesn't justify the stopping of elections or the delay or, whatever it is that they're trying to do, these fucking Supreme Court hearings that we were having yesterday about mail-in ballots. Like, none of this relates, it's just an excuse.
Yeah. Oh, well, I just loved it. I've been loving just you throwing the truth bombs out there. And the more we validate each other by doing that, we give ourselves, it's like, and it's like, okay, that is true. And then I've had so many people, it's like, oh, I'm so delighted I'm not the only person who thought this. And it's like,
yes.
Yeah. But I want to talk too, like, what the right does. They've got that trauma bond thing in place where, like, you see your dad beating up on your mom, and then the beating stops, and it's like, well, we're never going to talk about that again. Like, those false parameters, like, they impose upon us these blinders, and we're like, oh, what are the problems in the household? Oh, we didn't have enough money. And then they're like, why don't we have enough money? Well, because we had to go to the hospital because you beat the shit out of mom. Come on now. We solved that. We don't talk about that. And that's the life we're in. And I keep calling it's like, I call it the bizarro boundaries, like the false parameters of the right. Scott Jennings, like, every time somebody mentions it, it's just like, what? But it's like that. And we've all been in abusive relationships. It's like, well, that got handled. Why do you have to keep bringing that thing up? And it's like, because you keep doing it again and again and again. Well, now we don't talk about that. And it is really challenging. Like, how do we break through to people? This is the ongoing thing, but we are running out of time now too, because the primary season is our best chance to dramatically reform our government by just voting out all incumbents, And when I say all, yes, there are 10 that are doing a good job, and they're going to be reelected. Yeah.
But I feel I hate to have to always like preface that, but I do, because there are people like, and every time I say that, the first person in my head is Elizabeth Warren, because she's why I'm here. I feel like
good.
so.
Good.
But yeah, there are good ones. But that's again, that's like one of the problems that I keep saying is that they as in Democrats, the establishment does not ever want to acknowledge their faults. It's just like what America has done. They want to cover things up. They don't even acknowledge the genocide that was done to the
Yeah.
Native and Indigenous who were here thousands of years before them. Then, they don't want to acknowledge slavery. We're still arguing about reparations. And, it's like they just want to keep pretending that these things don't exist. And it's like that's why we're here, is because either you want the status quo, or you're just too dumb to see that this not speaking about it is not making things better. And I feel like that's just like a common sense thing, like in life, in your homes, in your family. Like if you don't talk about something,
Yeah.
it's going to fester and it's never going to get dealt with. Like,
Oh, we froze up. Come back to us, Natasha.
what happened?
Oh, you froze up for a second. And there we go.
Oh,
You're back now.
okay.
It
Yeah,
was
but
flattering. You had a flattering look on your face when you froze up.
good to know.
So you want to finish your thought there?
Yeah, no, I was just saying, I was just saying they want to continue sweeping things under the rug, and
Yes.
that's why we're in this spot. Because even if you're in your household, this is something that everybody knows, is if you don't acknowledge the elephant in the room, it's only going to fester. Like, so why are we still hiding the fact that Democrats institutionally, are racist? Why are we not acknowledging certain Democrats and certain, Carver or Carville and people like this? Why are we pretending like they're not racist and that we're not allowing their words to breathe life into the Democratic Party when you have these people as your
representatives, or
or
spokespeople?
the people that, why can't I think of the word? The people that, what the hell is James Carville?
A consultant.
I knew it started with a C. I just can't, the word.
And just the terrible strategy.
Breathing life and speaking life into people that are already in the party, and these people are racist. And these people have values of those from like the civil rights era. Why are we allowing them to have anything to do unless you want to keep things the way that they are?
Yes. And that's because when Tallarico comes out, he goes, and I know I have to earn the black vote. And everybody's like, yay. And then I'm like, so what are you going to do exactly to get that?
Right.
I said, why are you against the party? And it's like, it's not, like you said, it's not enough to just make those statements.
No, it's not.
Until he gets rid of Carville. I mean, that to me, and I mean, that's not enough. But like even just a slight move of the needle in the right direction, like he's very visible. Carville's very visible. Just denounce Carville. And then it's because you are not, I'm going to go talk to Lisa Hamline again, because she doesn't like Carville either, but she's like in with the Democratic Party in Texas. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, talk to every other representative. Sooner or later, it's going to get back to Tallarico. Well, he is not going to win the black vote unless he dumps Carville. That's flat out it.
Tallarico also, though, made the statement about Colin Allred. And from what I heard, based on what I heard, his response was, it was kind of like a not admission, but like a sorry, I didn't really do that. And it was just like a whitewashed, whatever bullshit answer.
Yeah.
So if he's not going to truly acknowledge, if he said that, if he's not going to acknowledge how wrong that was and what he learned from it and why you should never say, you're calling a black man. I don't care if we don't agree with his politics. A white person called a black man a mediocre black man.
Yeah.
That's,
and I'd throw his religion
being like that.
And I'd throw his religion back in his face. It's like, you need to show accountability. What does it say in your precious Bible about saying racist bullshit and lying about it? How about some accountability? And that's the other thing, because that's that other. And I want people just to really reflect on this, though, because it's easy to get frustrated. But I've been in abusive relationships, too, where you put up with bullshit, and you're trained to do that. And I think we just need to work ourselves through this, because you just train yourself like these things are off limits. And I encounter that in other people, and this is when you're 10, you're just trying to survive, and then you're 20 and you just don't know anything about the world. But you need somebody to say, it's like that person, that those things that they're doing to you, it's like, well, I was really at fault there. He's a good man. I was at fault. I did these things wrong. it's hard to crack that, and we have to do that on a national level. And just because I meet so many other white people when I talk to them, and you hit that kind of trauma moment where the blinders kick in, and they just give you they give you this, even the well-meaning ones do that.
I know.
Yeah. I don't know. Any thoughts? Yeah. Gaslighting oneself, somebody put, and but that's once we have a roadmap how to fix that, I guess humanity will be much better off. But these trauma bonds with abusive people that we then give power to, whether it is our relationships or in our family or our friendships or at work or in our government, I mean, that's an ongoing thing that humans have to confront.
Yeah. And I think it's just the programming, the fear, the rules, the restrictions, the laws, the things that scare us into submission.
The norms. Yeah, the norms.
And we can break from those. We can change norms. We can change social constructs. We can change those things. But we all have to do it together, as one, because if we all want it, that's great. But how do we come together so that whoever is in charge, or we can throw whoever's in charge out? How do we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then just
our own coup. I said it's like the only thing I could think of is staging a coup, like our own physical coup. Like every single person in the regime right now would have to be wiped out, metaphorically, not
legally and lawfully removed.
Yes. And then it would have to be replaced with a whole bunch of new progressive people. Like it's just, so how do we get together to do that legally and lawfully, and let them know? And that's what these No Kings marches are helpful for. But also that's, I feel like the marches are good to show them how many people are actually against them, so they can see the amount of Americans that don't agree with their policy. But that alone is not enough. Like that's just the visibility aspect of it. But we have to keep doing the things on the inside and, getting well acquainted with our, our local laws and local offices and all of that stuff. Like we have to, overcompensate for everything that they're not doing, because it's just a lot of moving pieces that we have to be actively doing at the same time. It's a lot of work.
Yeah. And I think, these conversations are so important for that, because it really starts with ourselves, and just so many of the things if you just talk to a priest and you say, gee, has your church had issues with enabling pedophiles? You are considered, see how you laughed? There's nothing wrong with asking that. I'm considering coming to this. And it's that's that conditioning, because I am reluctant to say those things too. And I'm trying to make myself say, need to do something about pedophiles in our society, and just the more these marches are great. I wish they would give me more opportunity to speak, but I guess even if I'm just talking to one person or 30, you just got to give people permission to make these. You guys have to stop using taxpayer dollars to fund child rapists and protect them. And it's we don't even really talk about that. And we saw it on the debate stage. Kamala did a great job, but she still held back some of the most devastating things she could say. Why? That stuff would just completely crush your opponent. There's no need to hold to the standard of decorum. For some reason, we don't even really contemplate why we do this. We just prevent ourselves from saying this.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, you got people in your ear telling you not to.
Yeah, and it's even the good people. So what we first have to do is stop when you say something and the good people are like, well, now, hey, it's no, you need to back down. And then once we get that done, we get a few more of us. And I have seen it personally, because it was, me 2 years ago, I'm trying to, be a little bit careful about some of the things. And now I'm able to speak a lot more openly than I was 2 years ago. So that's positive.
That's good to know. So I'm gonna be still feel, because I'm still not there's still a lot of things that I hold back. I feel because breaking that construct down. What can I say? What can I say? What
You wouldn't want to live in my brain, and a lot of well, maybe you'd be water slides, woo!
A lot of things shooting around at the same time.
Well, but you're right, though. You have to kind of read the room and be the room is now ready for this message, And I've been my spiel on voter fraud. Whenever I'm talking to a candidate, I always start it with, we teach U.S. history like it's the redacted Epstein files. And then the candidate's oh, that's kind of true. And it's like, and what we redact is the fact that white supremacists have tried to rig every single election in the whole country. And then, so step 3 is, will you assure us that you have a war chest so you will demand recounts and hold Republicans who try to cheat the election accountable? You know, you can't just start out with your election fraud stuff because they're just like, people don't want to hear that. But if you build up to it, then it kind of works. So.
Yeah. But you're right. Like, we just have to say those things. I mean, it's totally, I mean, because it's just so common to have pedophilia, and anybody that works in an environment with children. But you hear about it so often with churches, so it's totally acceptable to ask if they have any issues with that. There's really nothing wrong with that at all. But when you say it, it's like, whoa, but that's even the programming, right? Like, that's like me feel, oh my God, that's, so, clutching my pearls. But no, that's a perfectly acceptable question to ask.
It's no different. Yeah. And it's no different than when you've just watched your dad beat up on your mom, and then he somehow makes you feel guilty when you bring it up again. Like, but I saw you beat her. And he's like, come on now. And that's that Scott Jennings face where people say things and he's just like, what? It's like, that's already been established as not the case. And in a sense, what he says is true, because that mechanism of oppression is in place and they just have to play defense, And it's like, if you're confronting that mechanism, that toppling tower, that we all are living beneath, like, well, it's more convenient. It's like, it'd be real hard to just dismantle this whole tower and build a whole new social structure. That'd be real difficult. But what we're living through right now, it's like unsustainable. Our kids are literally going to die under Republican rule. So it's us being quiet. It's pretty obvious to everybody. Like, the room knows this now. I walk out in public and you just feel it. You walk around people and you're like, hi, how are you? And they're just like, loaded. They're just burning to say stuff. I've just been saying, I'd feel better if the president, if he wasn't buddies with, if I didn't suspect he was a child rapist, you say things like that. And people say that, but then other ones are like, oh, I'm so glad you said that. They get on, and then they just, then you're best friends forever.
Right. But just planting that seed, if they have nobody else in their life that's talking about it, that one comment at the store that you make to that stranger might get them talking, and that's how we, help continue to spread.
Well, we got to burst that membrane of oppression, you just pop it and it's like, oh, okay, all this stuff. And it's like the false parameters they require us to live within. They refuse to pay for education, but they spend $1 billion a day bombing children. And it's just like, it's like, people don't even talk about this stuff. Happens in plain view. Like, the number of crimes going on every day, crime after crime after crime in plain view. And then, everything's too expensive and we're facing economic terrorism. And it's, I did this example recently when my car broke down, like the heater stopped working. Right. So it's like, okay, the heater stopped working. I go and pop the hood and it's like the coolant is spoiled. There's oil in the coolant. So I'm like, oh, this motor's dead. It's going to die.
Yeah.
So I'm like, But then I'm like, what else is wrong with this car? And I started doing my inventory. It's like the passenger window doesn't go down. The dash lights were off. The air conditioning hasn't worked for years. I can't open the back. It's just like, you're going through the whole list. And it's like I was willing to just kind of carry on with all those other problems. But there's that breaking point problem. And it's like, the problem needs to be fixed. Right. And those of us working right now, it's like, this is, strike while the iron's hot. And we can't be content because, like, so much of what's on Substack, even, they want to swing back and then, oh, let's stop again. We're right at the status quo from 10 years ago. It's got to go hard and we got to push it as hard as we can to the left. Yeah. So that's our objective here.
Yeah, I agree. And then, I know a lot of people are leaving because of there's, a lot of Nazis and people on here. And I haven't encountered that too much, but lately I've been getting some nasty comments and people even comfortable enough saying the N-word and N-word privilege, something. It was just crazy. So I go to his page and he's just got like all kinds of like slurs, like other slurs and gay slurs. And it's just like, what,
Yeah.
I don't know. Isn't there a point where, it's not okay or no? I don't know. How does that work?
That, I would suggest that's some sort of an artificial, is that a real human being? I guess maybe I'm being too generous when I assume they're all robots.
I mean, they had 600 subscribers, which I thought was very, very, weird, but it's like, even Facebook, as horrible as they are, all of these platforms have some kind of mechanism built in. And I, reporting and stuff, I haven't seen them go away. So
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah, and it's just, who was I mentioning it to? Oh, were you there with the YouTube comments? I don't know if you went and saw the YouTube
No,
comments.
I didn't get to look at them yet, but I
Yeah.
started through.
Well, it's YouTube is worse than Substack, and Medium is a little bit better than Substack, but it's sort of like, I've been doing this long enough now, and it's gotten worse with AI, like the way they deploy. But I found too, like, I'll make a statement, and it's sort of like the bots tell me what the oligarchs don't want people to think. I feel like Sherlock Holmes. Like, you're making these deductions, like, okay, I know that's not human. I just got 200 comments. So somebody's really upset about what I'm talking about here. So, and then I'm reading the comments like, oh, here's what they're trying to direct me away from, because they're all the daddy, look what your mom is making me do type comments, like distracting, trying to use pressure to distract you from some truth. But like a weird one I got the other day when I was just like, it's like, men with guns don't protect our children from pedophiles. Women in office protect children from pedophiles. Just like a statement like that, like elect more women. And I was getting so many people there just like, well, women can be corrupt too. And I'm just like, it's a statistical anomaly. Like when it's like women, corruption is a feature among men and it's an exception among women, and just the number of people that want to come out and argue this with me.
I know.
I'm just like, why are you thinking this? And then they're like pointing, well, what about Pam Bondi? And I'm just like, you're talking about a woman who is appointed by probably a pedophile. So, I mean, that's not really a good case study, is it?
Right. Like, yes, we just said, there are horrible women as well. But I mean, yeah.
Well, it's just weird. And like the other day, somebody was fighting me because I'm just like, this ICE thing. It's like, well, at least ICE, it's like, if you're going to deploy them in airports, they're going to be harassing rich people. They're not going to be in neighborhoods harassing powerless immigrants anymore. And somebody was like, well, rich people take their private planes, and they're going on and on. And I'm just like, are you seriously saying that a guy who stuffed, all of his belongings into a beach bag and crossed the border and is working for $3 an hour, he's not going to look at anybody who can buy a plane ticket as rich? I mean, and we're going to sit here and fight about this all day long? I mean, this is what you're mad about? This is the hill you're going to die on?
Right.
I don't know. That's just why they want me to stop talking about those things. I guess I get stubborn. It's a good trait.
Yeah, I know. Ellis says there's a mass bot campaign using stolen card for paid subscription on Substack.
Oh, yes.
Is that, I didn't know that was a thing. But yeah, we're and so not only do we have to worry about these Democrats, blue MAGA, progressives, we also have to fight against the disinformation and these bots. And it's just like we're in a constant state of like offense, defense, like trying to swat people away so we can like get shit done,
And we've talked about this before, like growing up in an abusive scenario, it's men who abuse you. They always are very sensitive because, and it's to the point, like these white supremacists, they suppress their own kids, and that's kind of like, there's that loneliness among white supremacists, I've said before, because they've got that ideology. They have to win at everything. Well, if you constantly win at everything, nobody likes you. That's why you're lonely. And then if they have to win all the time, they have to cheat to win. Because if it's like their identity that they're the all-time winner and then they lose, they like go into identity death and they freak out. So it gets to this point, but they get to that level where you don't see all that though. What you see is somebody who gently diverts you away from certain avenues of thought, because they know that down that path leads to you discovering that they are fake, that they're phony. And just like the extent to which they will start. And so it's always easier for us to just be like, okay, this doesn't seem like it's that big a deal. I'll just kind of move over here. And that's why we have to stand fast and like demand some answers on things. And you see that, oh, let's see the medical records from that time you got your ear shot. How dare you? And then they get all furious, And it's like, and we were saying it before, this was a completely reasonable question. So I guess maybe that just has to be our mantra. Determine for yourself in advance. These are completely reasonable questions to ask. It's like, it's reasonable to ask questions about election integrity. That's pretty serious. To just sit there and assume, it's like the election in the United States is a gigantic, complex machine. And it's like a lot could go wrong. Yeah. We should be evaluating all the things that could be going wrong. And, there is legitimate, just accidental glitches, except that why is it that every single glitch seems to favor the Republicans?
Right.
That's a pretty reasonable question at that point.
It is, yeah. It absolutely is.
We should get a couple glitches in our favor if the law of averages were in play and they're clear. But that's what we're up against. I mean, what the level of evil of the Republicans, because they're flat out evil at this point. I mean, look at what they're doing. They haven't arrested one pedophile in the Epstein files. There's plenty of evidence in there. I've seen the evidence. You've read the files. You should be hauling these people in. And they haven't, they're only hauling in like dishwashers and things like that, who are like single mothers. I mean, it's the most disgusting thing I've ever seen.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy, right? Because there's also people that don't necessarily have that like political immunity, if they're a Trumper or something. There's people that are in there, celebrities, trails that we can go on. I think Leonardo DiCaprio's in there. I know Michael Jackson is in there. And attorneys that may or may not have been dealing with them are also in there and possibly have evidence. So there's like other avenues also we can go down. It doesn't even just have to be the political leaders and people in charge. Like we could start getting to the faction of Hollywood, because there's a large trafficking, all of that crazy stuff there too. And we're not talking about it. Like they're, they just had the fucking Oscars and, all that shit. And it's like, that's honestly why I stopped watching movies like 10, 15 years ago when I learned about it. Cause I was so grossed out that the people that I watch on TV are actually horrible people. And so like, it's still even now seeing them on stage, people that, we should be asking questions about are being lauded. And it's just like, what, we can go after other people too.
Yeah. And it's, Corey Feldman did that interview all those years ago with Barbara Walters. And like Barbara Walters is like, well, what you're saying is going to take down a whole industry. It's like, what's wrong with you to ask that question? It's like, I'm telling you, I got raped as a kid and you're mad about the industry. So, so that's the end of Barbara Walters too. And that's the other thing. Like, it becomes easier because my wife is the best in the world at this. And she's one of those people that takes once people show you who they are, believe them, idea to heart. And she's just like, one mistake, you're gone. I'm never talking to you again. I don't care who you are. Boom. That's it. We're done. You don't get a second chance. She doesn't believe in second chances at all. And she's given me a couple, though, I have to admit. So I have to hold, and I appreciate that she holds me to a high standard that way, but there's so much pressure, we just allow evil people to just do stuff over and over and over and over again. And again, it was that issue of you're supposed to go through the chain of command, when somebody's harassing you. No, I'm going to jump to the top and make it end. And then the more people are mad at you for going around the chain of command than the thing that happened to you in the first place. So that abuse culture is just fused with our identity, I guess.
Yeah. So you have to break it.
Oh, we've covered a couple kind of good ideas. What else is on your mind this morning? I got a few more minutes. I got to talk to Nick at 10. But.
I don't really know. I guess the war.
Now, what happened there? Is it stopped or is it somebody invested $1.5 billion in oil futures or something? So,
yeah, I saw that. I don't think it's stopped. I just know that things are going to get worse as far as like economically, and that's on my mind. And again, having to raise a kid with a white supremacist is on my mind. And, ICE is on my mind. Things, the things that I can't control are on my mind. And so,
we could have some conversations about that with Adria again. That was so wonderful. It was so wonderful talking to you two, and just those strategies. Because I know I grew up in that kind of scenario too, and there is a way out. And I've more and more I've discovered, because one of the things I did, I was just hauling around books, and the white supremacists actually start to fear you when, like, you're 9, you're hauling books around and you're reading them because it's all there. And I've started to come to this idea that, like, they are so intent on AI publishing just so that they can bury all the true works of humanity, because that's like a lifeline for curious people. But I was thinking that I'm just like, but there were shitty books too. And I knew to drop the shitty books even when I was like 9, reading all the classic works. And it's like people from radically different lives, they have horses and things outside, that's how they get places. And yet they can talk about love and human connection and all that stuff that white supremacists know nothing about. And I think once you establish that seed, once you give that guidance, the only way that white supremacy works is when somebody is completely left within their power and they have no alternative. So just in being a loving mother, you can demonstrate, here's something you could do. But that trauma bond, imposing that trauma bond on people, I've got more and more stories about that. Like my cousin, like his dad, like he told me these stories about how he'd do something wrong and his dad would be like, okay, you go into the woods and you get a stick and that's the stick I'll hit you with. And if it's not a big enough stick, I'm going to go and get one, but just think how out of control that is. Because it's sort of like, it makes you like, okay. And it makes you start to believe I'm involved in this punishment. I have agreed to this punishment because I'm picking the stick. My cousin, though, told me that one time he went and he pulled out a tree that was like this big. It was like his fuck you moment. He comes out of the woods with this tree that's so big that he couldn't even drag it. It's like, hit me with this, you asshole. And that's kind of what you have to get to break down that mindset.
Yeah.
Comedy works. Yeah. Because they're ridiculous. And that's, I keep coming back to that. They're so absurd and they're so weak.
Weak. And fearful. That's what white supremacy is at the core, is fear. Fear
and loneliness and incompetence. I keep telling women to just break them down. Like this same cousin, he grew up, and I wrote a story about this because we were out having a beer. His wife had left him, and I was just like, my wife called me, I got to go home. And he's like, oh, that's kind of beta. And I'm like, okay, what's your argument? And he was like, it's kind of beta. You're running away to go to your house. I'm like, okay, that's your story. I'm like, let's talk about your story now. You're going to go sleep on your couch because your wife left you for a better man, presumably because you couldn't satisfy her sexually. And it's like, and he's now raising your kid. I laid into him. I didn't feel like being called a beta. And I'm like, okay, so, enjoy that beer by yourself. I'm going to go home to my loving wife and my kids whom I'm raising and I'm involved in their life, And well, you can just crush these white supremacists like that because they're always going to come at you with that BS, and they're just try to shame you and hit you and bring you into their trauma bond where you hate the world.
Yeah, bring you right down with them. That's what they try to do.
Oh, yeah. And that's why everybody always says, it's like, Walter, if you humiliate them, you make them more set in their ways. It's like, how much more set in their ways could they be?
Certain people, like I agree. Like some, we can't use that tactic with everybody, but if certain people and there's no hope, like whatever, give it to them.
Yeah,
they fucking deserve it. Like that's the least of their problems, right?
Well, somebody just wrote, I love rejecting these types of guys on online dating apps. And I think actually,
yes.
Well, yeah, just make them cry, make one of these white supremacists cry. It
is fun. It is. I mean, I don't do it anymore. Because like I don't even think about dating, but I do still have one of the apps on my phone. But you just go through and it's just like, God, they're just fucking losers, like just incels, and they get so angry at any type of authority or assertiveness a woman tells them, and it's just like they're just so, like, what's their word, butthurt, like.
Well, they're so fragile. Yeah, the fragile masculinity of white supremacy, and I think we're moving in this direction. But I really do feel that women have the power to just completely destroy these just toxic men. You saw with Stormy Daniels, like, he wasn't a good lover. I mean, that's the kind of thing that just breaks these guys down.
Right.
And we live in a society where women really don't do that, like just completely star rating for dudes, like entire web pages of this, and all of them are the little profiles of these ICE agents. And then they're like star rating is, -50 because they're just not. That's kind of one of these malicious things. But I mean, we saw like after the January 6th thing, where women were like, oh, were you there? That's so awesome. It's like, could you send me some videos? And then they would send the videos of themselves at the insurrection. Then they'd send those videos to the FBI.
Yes.
Like how it's the honey trap white supremacy type, but be safe, I guess, is the caveat there. We're just brainstorming here. I'm going to go do that. And then the next thing But I think it is just that idea of just the validation. We give people permission to wield their power because we've seen it. This regime is more afraid of women than anything else, and they inadvertently show us their hand. They show us everything that they say. Every accusation is a confession, and all the things that they get all bristly about are where they know the weaknesses, because they know you're setting on a path that it's not right there. But if you continue on that path for a ways, you will completely undo them. They reveal that because they have to protect their weak ideology. They have this perimeter. Their false parameter is so big that they get nervous when you even get close to perceiving their weaknesses.
Yeah. That's when they get defensive, because they don't, that's why, like, the truth is just so powerful. Like, knowledge and education is so powerful, because that's how we can like destroy them. And to me, that's like the best way. I don't want to see people murdered. I want to like verbally eviscerate you and then, have you go to jail or do whatever. Like, I don't know. That's
well,
that's the way I see things. Like, our words have power, and they can't hide forever. And the more we break them down, the more their core is revealed, and they have a choice: either double down and be this person, or change. But like, we have to start demeaning them and humiliating them, because otherwise it's just going to continue. They're the bullies, and we have to stop them in their tracks. So that's how I look at it.
Oh, and I mean, the example you mentioned before, where you go on this guy's profile and everything is just hate and hate and hate, and he's just spiraling down this drain of hate. And it's like, the people say if you push them, they'll only be more set in their ways. They are rotten, and they are going to make all the people. Good to see you, Karen. That's excellent. But they're rotten to the core. And if you enable it, because they've got that bully mindset, where if you treat them nicely, they're just like, ha, ha, ha. And like, you wasting your time is a win to them. That's why I don't have these fights with them in the threads. I'll write an article, but not have a fight, because they are playing prevent defense, because they got a 200-point lead, so they just have to delay you from action. So they're just like, they think it's a win if you're being nice to them. But we have to completely collapse that toxic mental structure, that identity structure that they've built up, which they've used to justify all their fundamental evil by pushing it away and blaming other people. And once you've crushed that, you've got identity narcissistic collapse, I call it. Then we build it up again positive. And that's our model. That's what we have to do. But I mean, like, 95% of our society pushes us, like, part of white supremacy teaches people to enable white supremacy. Like the passive, that's why, like you said at the beginning, it's not enough to be, oh, I'm anti-racism. You have to be actively anti-racist. Because part of just being, oh, yeah, sure, I denounce that. And then you go along and you enable white supremacy without even knowing it. So,
yeah.
We covered some good things. Let me, go ahead and give us your spiel. Everybody go find Natasha on her page. If you, we'll start rounding up here.
You can find me at truthshewrote.com. I mean, I would appreciate you liking and subscribing to my work. I don't do this full time, but I would like to. And so the more support that I get, the more that enables me to like dedicate more time to this and not have to do all of the full-time work all the time. But this is what I really love doing, is just like spreading news and just letting everybody know how much power we have in our words, in our actions, in our voices, and just everything. And we need to spread that, but we also have a lot of work that we have to do right now. And I guess that's kind of like my main thing, is just letting people know, like, it's going to be hard. We have a lot of work we have to do right now to try to preserve our elections. It's all in our hands. We cannot rely on anybody in Congress, Senate, anybody to look over them or oversee them or do the right thing. The only people that are going to do the right thing are us, the people that want to do the right thing. So it's on us. And I just want everybody to know that, like, you have so much power. We all have so much power together. And so this is a time where we have to come together and form community, because things are going to get really, really, really rough before they get better. So follow me, because I do keep it real, but I do always have some positivity in there, because we are powerful and we can defeat this, but we have to do it together. So
wonderful. And that's perfect. And yeah, I found too, like, it was a weird thing happened to me on the day of the election, where I had been so angry and frustrated leading up to the election in 2024. And then it happened, and it's like I was mad. And then it just kind of, that frustration went away. And I think it's because finally the veil was removed. And instead of because when people constantly disappoint you, it's because you are presuming they're better than they actually are, and it's that wishful thinking. Well, you disappointed me again. A person can only disappoint you if you haven't accepted that they're a bad person, right? And so, and it's like, even though it's like, okay, it's daunting to recognize the enormity of the task before us, but at least you are empowered and you are seeing where you need to go, and you're not deluding yourself and denying yourself the ability to have positive action. So like, put aside the wishful thinking, recognize the way things actually are. And I'm still learning things. And so that's why we keep coming back, and I have to do these talks every day, and all the wonderful comments really help. And you really help, Natasha. You help me see things where I'm just like, oh yeah, we maintain these delusions, right? That trauma bond, it's not just one bond. It's like a spider web that's been implanting in your head, and you got to like pull out every little thread. And I know a lot of people are feeling a lot more empowered. Yeah. Forward together, Deidre. That's absolutely it. Rise together. And people are feeling, because the more of just the deceits that you've been pressured and indoctrinated to believe that you remove, the more power you have. Even though, yes, the downside is you see, oh shit, it's rotten to the core out there.
Right.
I feel a little bit better, I guess.
Yeah, a little bit, right?
Well, it's always a delight to talk to you, Natasha. And yeah, I got to set up another one with Deidre. I'm really looking forward to that. And so, yeah, I'm always doing these in the morning. So just hop in anytime. If anything makes you furious and you need to just talk about it, send me a message. I'm probably ready to. I'm probably mad too. So, so we'll get together and feel better. All right. Thanks so much, everybody. Love to everybody. We'll see you soon.
All right. Bye.